Our final example for the day then is part D. And in part D, we're going to divide negative x to the third plus 3x squared plus 14x plus 16 by x plus 3. Step number one, once again, is to make sure that every power of x is accounted for in that numerator and that it's written in descending order. And if you look at this, we have a power of 3, then we have a power of 2, then we have a power of 1, and then we have our constant term. So our numerator is already there. Our denominator, same thing. We have a power of 1, then we have our constant term. Both the numerator and the denominator are written in descending order, and every power of x from the highest to the lowest is actually being accounted for in each one of those. And because we're set with step one, we can go ahead and write down our division using the division bracket. So now that we have that, we're ready to go ahead and check out steps 2, 3, and 4. So first question, how many times does x go into negative x to the third? Well, this is negative x to the third divided by x. So negative divided by a positive is going to be a negative, and then x to the third divided by x to the first is going to be x squared. So we have negative x squared there. Now I want to take this negative x squared and I'm going to multiply that times the entire divisor. Now this time I'm going to choose not to write down the steps off to the right. If you need to write down the steps off to the right just to double check my work, feel free to do that. But I'm going to simply comment about this, and this is ultimately what you want to get to the point of being able to be prepared for other classes. You don't necessarily have to write down every single one of those steps off to the side. So if I distribute this negative x squared through to both terms in my divisor, I have negative x squared times x. Negative x squared times x is going to be negative x to the third. And then we have negative x squared times a positive 3. Negative times a positive is going to be a negative. And then we have 1 times 3, that's 3. And x squared times no x, I'm going to get an x squared there. I'm going to subtract these polynomials. Again, the safest way of doing that is to change it into an addition problem and change the sign on every single term in that second polynomial. So now I have negative x to the third plus a positive x to the third. They cancel. And again, those first pieces should always cancel. And then we have 3x squared plus a positive 3x squared. 3x squared plus 3x squared is 6x squared. Now I'll bring down one term, 14x. I don't want to bring that positive 16 down yet because that would be just too many pieces for this particular problem. My divisor over here only has 2 terms, so I only want to play with 2 terms at a time. So I'm only going to bring down the positive 14x for now. So let's go ahead then and repeat this process. So now the question is, how many times does x plus 3 go into 6x squared plus 14x? Again, I'm really focusing my attention on just the first 2 terms. So we have the x and the 6x squared. If I take 6x squared and I divide that by x, I'm going to get a positive 6x. And now I'm going to multiply that 6x times my divisor. Again, be careful about this. It's every term in that divisor. So it's a distribution problem. So I'm going to have 6x times x. That's going to give me 6x squared. And then I'm going to have 6x times positive 3. That's going to be a positive 18x. Now that I have that, I'm going to subtract these polynomials. Safest way to do that is to change the signs on every single one of those terms in that second polynomial. So I now have a negative 6x squared and a negative 18x. First column cancels, then I have 14x minus 18x. That's going to be a negative 4x. I'll bring down my positive 16. Now I'll repeat the process. I ask now, how many times does x plus 3 go into negative 4x plus 16? Focus. We have the x and the negative 4x. Negative 4x divided by a positive x is going to be negative 4. Negative 4 times my divisor then, again, is a distribution problem. Negative 4 times x is negative 4x. Negative 4 times positive 3 is negative 12. I'm going to subtract these, and again, safest way, change those signs. So my negative 4x becomes positive, my negative 12 becomes positive. Negative 4x plus a positive 4x, they cancel out, and then positive 16 plus 12 gives me a 28. So now that I have that then, I'm ready to go back up to the top and write down my final answer. So remember, we have our dividend divided by the divisor already written, so we're ready to go to the right-hand side. This is equal to the quotient. Our quotient then is negative x squared plus 6x minus 4, and then we write down plus the remainder divided by the divisor. So it's plus, the remainder in this case is 28, and the divisor was x plus 3. And there's our final answer for the problem. When you divide these two polynomials, you end up with negative x squared plus 6x minus 4 plus the fraction 28 divided by x plus 3. At this point, you're ready to go ahead and check out worksheet and homeworks 34. Have fun.